Step into the Kathy Rogers podcast studio for the familiar comfort of your best friend's mom. Explore what shapes us, strengthens us, and connects each of us to God's distinct purpose. Get ready for new ways of seeing how resilience bears fruit.
Hi, I'm Kathy Rogers. Welcome to the Kathy Rogers podcast, sharing insights from your best friend's mom. Well, in the past year, I have begun speaking more, and I say that to people, and I know in their heads, wonder, who are you speaking to? Which the answer is I've spoken to moms groups, ladies groups, business teams, business leadership. I have spoken on my journey and what I've been through in my faith to different churches and church groups. I have spoken on the power of choosing your perspective for positive to business organizations and leadership teams. And this past week and the past few months, I've gotten to do something I really, really enjoy speaking on that I've been doing longer than the rest of this, and that is facilitating the Working Genius assessment. Okay, little background on this. I have always loved anything that gave me a tool into being self-aware. Personality profiles and, okay, full confession, I'm probably the only person listening to this that doesn't know their Enneagram number. So, I'm sure people have ideas as to what I am, but I've never taken the actual exam. The Briggs-Myers and I can't think of just so many of these different things. 3 years ago, I had an opportunity to meet Pat Lencioni, who is an amazing speaker and author, and he has the company, The Table Group, and they, in the year 2020, came up with this Working Genius productivity model. And basically, let me see if I can give you a little premise on it. Each of us have two geniuses, and the geniuses are wonder, invention, discernment, galvanizing, enablement, and tenacity. And yes, if you are brilliant and you are following that, the acronym is WIDGET. And the way that it's facilitated in explaining it in a diagram, the W leads to the I with grooves that go back up to D. So it kind of goes up and down as these grooves of gears work together, because work really happens in 3 stages. You have the ideation phase, which is, the wanderers and the inventors, the people that can look at the environment and go, this could be better if we are the wanderers. The inventors are the one, I have an idea for how we can change that. And they're just prolific in how they come up with ideas. Then the discerners evaluate those ideas and can just, from that gut feeling, no, yes, no, not worth the cost, we have a better idea, can just go back and forth with that. The galvanizers are right in the middle, in the activation phase before we get it to the implementation phase. And the galvanizers rally the team around the best ideas, the best things to be implemented. And so then it's handed off to the implementation. Now, the implementation side probably gets the most attention, and most people know it because it's probably where 80% of the work happens. It's the enablement and the tenacity. The enablement people are those people in your life that just do. They see a need and they make it happen. They see something that needs to be done. They're the people who send the cards. They're the people who realize that the teacher needs a drink of water, or something, they're just going to automatically get it. They're just the people who get things done. They enjoy supporting the team by doing what needs to be done. And then the tenacity people are the ones that are so good and get so much joy from finishing on time, from checking off the list, from meeting deadlines and doing things in a timely, effective manner. Now, I will tell you that each person has two geniuses. And it's really kind of cool because if you look at the way the model is made, you have your two geniuses and then you have two frustrations. Frustrations are things that just really drain your energy. It does not come naturally to you. You do not get joy from doing it. And then there are two competencies. So things that you can do that you can function. I'm going to use myself as an example and explain all of this to you because it has a really good purpose today. I am a GE. So I'm a galvanizer and enablement. And the nickname for that is the enthusiastic encourager. If you know me, if you've been listening to me for any amount of time, you could probably guess this to be true. And you could probably guess that when I do things or get things done or try to get people to get involved in things, I do it because it's helping somebody else. I like the enablement part that I wrote my book because of that. I wrote that because I thought my story would really help others be able to see that there was another perspective that you can have and that you could choose how you're going to respond and react to things. I really believe that that's why I enjoy the speaking. I enjoy galvanizing a team and being able to collaborate with the people who are putting on the event so that the audience is inspired to action, to have excitement in whatever they're being called to do, in whatever the purpose of this gathering. That's what I enjoy doing from stage. Now, my frustrations are wonder and invention, and that's the ideation phase. So, for example, let me tell you that if you're working and you're working genius, it brings you joy. You could do it all day long. And you're not exhausted because it's so much fun. It's invigorating. It fills your cup. Here's the example that Pat uses that I think is so effective. If you had your very best Stanley Cup Yeti mug, whichever one, I don't know, I haven't done a test on who keeps coffee the warmest the longest, but you put your coffee in there in the morning. If you take a sip of it in the afternoon and it's still warm, that is what happens when you're working in your genius. You're still on fire. You still got the energy. You're still warm. Now, if you're working in your working competency, which means you can do it, it just doesn't fill you, and it probably eventually drains you if that's all you're doing. It's like buying your coffee just at the store, at McDonald's, at Starbucks, and it's just in a paper cup. And then you take a sip of it later in the afternoon without sticking it in the microwave, and it's not warm anymore. So it's not really hitting the spot. I mean, it quenches your thirst, but it didn't really, give you that coffee bump. Then your working frustration is as if you put your coffee in one of those paper cups and there's a hole in the bottom of it. And then you go to take a drink. It's not even going to quench your thirst because there's nothing in it. It's all been draining out. So I enjoy working in my working genius, and I do not get joy from my working frustrations. So the whole point of this is that since writing my book, which has been very amazing, and then being able to galvanize and to be that enthusiastic encourager, speaking from stages, speaking in small groups, at retreats, has been amazing. I do want to keep going just a little bit on this working genius because when I discovered this 3 years ago, I became certified to be a facilitator, and I enabled my family and galvanized my family and got them to all take it. Well, I learned that my children have a lot of my frustration, which is kind of funny because there was a period of time when I homeschooled, and now I know why their creativity was driving me nuts because I thought that I had to follow through on all of it. And then I learned you can let them be creative and have their ideas and then let them figure out how it's going to work. I've been able to work with families and couples and businesses to see you have all the right people in the right seats of the bus. So if you're working as a team, especially as a married couple, which just last week, Pat and his wife Laura, and then Cody and his wife Lindsay did this marriage application to the Working Genius that was really great. It was a webinar. I hope it's available. If it is, I'll let you guys know. It was interesting to see that among two of you, there are going to probably be a few frustrations, but we've all got to work to get it done. We've got to work in our lives to pay the bills. Maybe no one has that implementation part of maybe your frustrations are both E and T. Who's going to get the bills paid? There's probably a chance that they're not. And there's probably a chance you're paying late fees and you just can't quite get it all together. That's the other beautiful thing about the working genius. You were made on purpose by God with your geniuses. Yes, you may be comparing yourself to other people and feeling guilty or subpar or unworthy or not wired right or broken. It's not true. You just have to be aware of who you are and then fill in the gaps, whether it's getting somebody else to do it or trading off with friends who are really good at what you're not good at. You mesh the geniuses to compensate for the frustrations, and it works really well. But you have to be aware. Self-awareness is one of the most powerful tools that we can have for ourselves, for our family members, and for our team members. It enables us to be able to know, I can do this. Either it's going to bring me joy. I can force myself to get through it. It may not be great, but I'm doing the best I can. And it allows us to be aware in community. Like my husband is really a great wanderer and discerner. And I can't tell you how many times I say, hey, I need you to wonder about this for a little bit, particularly when it has come to some of the things that I have to do. In order to continue to be a speaker, I need to market, maybe finish this podcast, maybe update my website, maybe follow through on marketing, social media. Okay, full confession right here. If someone tells me that I must do social media posts for a certain number of days on certain number of topics for extended period of time, it overwhelms me. Because guess what? It takes wonder and invention to do those things. My two frustrations. So if I can just spin my wheels in it, or I can find someone who's good at it. And I happen to have kids who are good at it, and get them to help me, get them to throw some ideas at me. So then I can go, oh, I can galvanize around that one. That really works for me. I enjoy sharing this with other people. I got to be with a team this week who just, first of all, they have all the people in the right seats on the bus. And it was exciting to be able to confirm, guess what? The reason you're great at collaboration is you know you're strong in this and you know you're weak in this, and you guys have the opposite weaknesses and strengths. So you're magnetized. You do well together. You feed well off of each other. That is not always the case when I'm sharing this model, but it worked this way. And so I got energy from being able to show them what they were doing well. Here is the most beautiful part in this to me. I can tie it back in how we are fearfully and wonderfully made. Psalm 139 tells us that God was intentional when he made us. He knit us together in our mother's womb. He made us this way. We are each made with a purpose. I totally believe that. And I believe God gives us passions, geniuses, personalities, experiences to be sharing those things with each other. In Colossians, it talks about that the times that I go through things and God gives me comfort, it's so that I can go with others and comfort them in times when they need it. And I believe that that can be expanded on to say that in our daily lives, when we're interacting together, perhaps you're frustrated in your marriage right now. Perhaps you're frustrated with your team. Maybe you need a tool to give you insight, more self-awareness. Things aren't broken. Things aren't irreparable. And here is something that I've learned in my wisdom. Boy, do I wish I'd had it a lot longer. Life is not to be lived in a state of emergency. We don't live in crisis mode. Our bodies weren't wired for that. We can become addicted to that, though. We need the bump of something being exciting or dramatic or just being able to talk about something. Or we get wrapped up and almost whip things up to be more dramatic than they need to be. We can have peace in who we were wired to be. Even in the times when we're tired and I do have to work and my frustration, there is the ability to reset. I can learn in my self-awareness, and I have as I've gone through loss, as I've gone through grief, as there are changes in the phases of life. You know, there's the early newlywed years of just being together, and you're learning the nuances of being married. Then you add children to the mix, and then that's a different phase, and you have different responsibilities and obligations to raising these children and raising them to be humans that contribute back to society in a moral platform of the Bible. What does God teach us in teaching our children? So then we get wrapped up in that, but then there's also the education side, what activities were they made to? Do we just throw them into all the activities? And then the kids get older and they start pushing back. And so then we're guiding them in how to be mature. And then there's the changing once they're gone, the empty nest time. Do we still like our husband? Is this going to work out? What is our role now that they're all out of the house? And are we still coaching them? Are we panicked if they don't call us for a few days? Or are we living in a peaceable time? Are we able to go, God, I don't understand about this change. I'm not really sure what's happening in this change, but what do you want me to learn in this change? What do I need to know in myself? Praying for wisdom. The Bible tells us that we can pray for wisdom. We don't have it because we don't ask. And then we don't get it if we're not asking in God's will. Are we praying about it because we want it to just be easier and solved? Or are we praying about it because we truly want to be better Christ followers in how we develop in that next phase of life? There are so many tools out here. I've talked about the Working Genius tool, and I'll give you some information for that. And you can reach out to me about it, or you can just look up Working Genius, Pat Lencioni. This is not a paid promotion or anything. It's just a tool that I have found to be a gift, one that I enjoy using and teaching to others, and that has given me insight into what brings me joy. But you know what other tools we have? We have the Word of God that teaches us about Him every single time we read it. Sometimes it's harder than other times to find Him in it, but He's in there and He loves us. We just celebrated Father's Day. And I know Father's Day can be so, some people it's wonderful. They have great and affirming and encouraging, uplifting fathers who were their cheerleaders. And then we have people who their fathers could have been some of the most selfish, bad examples, even harmful in their lives. But each one of us has a heavenly Father, one who has adopted us through Jesus Christ, who loves us with a love that we can't even wrap our arms around. But He wants us. He wants us to know who we are, who He created us to be, to make us aware of tools and community around us to be whatever that is that He's created us to be. Each person is valuable. Each person has purpose. And my goal in sharing the things I'm excited about, the Working Genius model, what I've learned, the phases of life, the changes, is we can be proactive. We can be intentional versus reactive. And we can take peace and a deep breath in knowing that life isn't an emergency, that God will guide us even when it looks really dark and we really can't see. We can choose the perspective of gratitude and find that light at the end of the tunnel by tweaking that perspective. Because I know that each of you has genius in you. I know that each of you is loved by God. And I pray that as you grow in fellowship with one another, in recognition of who Christ is in your life and following his example in obedience because he loves you. Not out of some checklist reason to do things, but because he loves you and you want to live in that love by being obedient. God loves you. I love you. I pray that as you are walking in whatever phase of life you're in right now, that you will learn the power of refreshing and resetting and knowing that you are not alone. God is walking right there with you, and he wants the best for you. God bless you. I look forward to next time.
Please email your questions and comments to info@thecathyrogers.com. If you found value in this podcast, please like, share, and subscribe to receive each episode when it posts. We appreciate you.